Tell us, the Kangaroos are now in the UK. They're getting ready to take on the Kiwis in Warrington on Friday. You played both in the World Cup in 2000 and for the Kangaroos in 2001. Tell us what it's like playing in an international competition.
Yeah, it's good. It's exciting. All the players are, after a long season, would have been pretty tired, but you can get yourself up for these games. This is what all our players want to play in. And as you're a kid, or when we were kids, we all watched or got up at all hours of the morning to watch test matches. And the players will be pretty excited, pretty nervous. We've got a few players who are making their debuts over there, and who haven't travelled overseas before too. So getting used to the weather, the different referees, different playing styles, and a different country. It's a pretty good experience.
So how does it compare being over there? I mean, to other sort of rep games like Origin? Obviously, you're in another country, but how does it compare the build-up and then the games themselves?
Yeah, the build-up's probably not quite as big as the Origin. Obviously, in the UK, the soccer's the big or the main sport over there. So up north, they'll be pretty excited, but down in London and that, it'll under the radar a little bit. But I think in your big footy towns like Wigan and Warrington and Leeds and St Helens, they'll certainly be very excited. And I know the 2 years I had over there playing at Wigan, they'd love nothing more to beat Australia. We're the arch enemy, and it's going to be a terrific competition. And we saw the Test match last week against New Zealand, which we won pretty convincingly. But the Kiwis had 12 out that night, and they'll have a lot back for this game next week.
So when you're going on a big trip like that, how much does the travel and in particular being in England as well at this time of year, the weather, how much does that take a toll on you guys? Yeah,
it's pretty hard. I think history would show that we've generally lost the first game that we've played over there. The 3 times that I was over there, we did always lose the first test, and whether that was the travel, the travel had a lot to do with it, and players were very fatigued after a long season, and the travel certainly doesn't help. But maybe a bit of complacency, I'm not sure. But the first test is always a very tough one. I don't think Tim Sheens will let us be complacent. The Kiwis are always a very good side, and even though, as I said before, we did beat them pretty convincingly last week, there won't be as many points in it. The ground will have a lot to do with that, and it's a bit of an unknown with the referee. We can have a French referee, an English or an Australian, or you don't know, and their interpretation of the game can be pretty different. So all the games will be pretty close.
So you don't think last week's win, as you mentioned, over the Kiwis will be anything to go by this week? If that wasn't a snapshot of what's to come?
I hope so, but for Australia's chances, I'd certainly love it to be like that every week. But as I said, the Kiwis had 12 out. There were a lot of young guys in their side, and I think in saying that, I think Australia will be better again, but the Kiwis have certainly got a lot of improvement and a lot of good players to come back into the team.
So as you've mentioned, there are a lot of young guys in that squad. Do you think that gives more of an advantage, or do you think it's a bit of a disadvantage having the inexperience?
Yeah, yes and no. I think in big games you do need experience. I think there's still a good mix there in the Kiwi team, but I think there's a good mix in the Australian side as well. We're blooding some new players, and Cherry Evans and those sorts of guys. So I think it's a good move by Australia to be starting to bring those blokes into the fold. But certainly from New Zealand's point of view, you're going to see the fruition of this tour in a few years. To be able to blood so many players at once in a big competition, it's only going to strengthen their depth, and they'll be better for it in the next tournament. Probably if they don't win this one, they're going to be better again next time.
When we're talking about experience, England has quite a few players that have been there for many years now in their captain Jamie Peacock, and players such as Kevin Sinfield and Adrian Morley, who you would have played against. Tell us about those sort of players.
Yeah, Kevin Sinfield and Jamie Peacock, they're both at Leeds and have been there for a long time. And I have played a lot of footy against both of them. They're both very good players and very experienced. Jamie Peacock's the captain, and you throw in Adrian Morley, who is probably one of the best English imports or exports that they've ever had out here. And we've certainly got to watch them too. They're going to have a strong forward pack, but we've also got some young players in there at the moment. young players in Sam Tompkins and his brother Joel Tompkins, who are both terrific players and played at Wigan and played in last year's winning Super League Grand Final. So, again, there's a few blokes in there that can cause us some trouble, but and I think the referee and the slower grounds will help the other teams. Australia would love a dry track. We've got a terrific side, but we'll just wait and see how it goes.
And they've taken quite a few of our NRL guys over there in Chris Harrington, Gareth Ellis, Jack Reed and Gareth Widdop.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a real positive for the English team, particularly with their homegrown blokes, with Gareth Ellis, who we know is a terrific player, but in the halves, it's a position that they've struggled a little bit in the last few years and haven't been able to settle on a 5'8", and probably since Paul Sculthorpe retired and Sean Long. But Gareth Widdop, the experience that he'll have at Melbourne, teaming up with Sam Tompkins or whoever else they've got over there is going to be pretty exciting for them. But we all know what Gareth Ellis can do. He's a terrific player out here. So, they're going to have a good team.
And tell us a bit about the Welsh side. Lee Briers is there as well. You would have played up against him. How are they in terms of their strength?
Yeah, they'll be the underdog, no doubt. But I remember a game, it was in 2000. It was in 2000 in the World Cup, and they led us 12 or 13-0 at half-time, I think, and that was a bit of a wake-up call. And Lee Briers played particularly well. He's a very skillful player. He'll be their leader. He's been around for a long time now, so you can't relax against Briers. He's pretty unpredictable, and they'll be out there to have a good time, but also try and create some upsets.
So with the three other teams in this tournament, we've got the Kiwis, the English and the Welsh. Who do you think are going to be the ones to look out for?
Look, I think on their day, either of them are capable of beating Australia, but I think if we can get it together and we can improve on, or Australia can improve on what we did in last week's Test match, well, I'd like to think we can still win. We've got a terrific team. We've got a lot of experience with Lockyer and Smith and Thurston and Gallen. We've got a great side, and you throw in some young blokes like Chris Lawrence, who was terrific in the first Test, and Inglis will be back. You've still got Willie Tonga, you've got Slater, just goes on and on. So, I'd expect Australia to win, but certainly not going to be easy. Certainly can't take anyone lightly, and it's going to be a good competition.
And where are the matchups for this week's game against Aussies and Kiwis? Where are the matchups there that you're most looking forward to watching?
I really enjoyed the exchanges in the forwards. In the last Test that they played against each other, it was pretty rough and tumble sort of start to the game, which is good. And I think the Kiwi halves will be better for it. Not sure if Sean Johnson will be fit or not, but maybe he can sneak in there on the bench, maybe. But their halves, Foran and Benji Marshall, if their forwards can hold Australia and they can get an even share of possession and hang on to the footy. They turned a bit too much football over last time, but if they can get 50-50 the football and dominate some field position, well, they've certainly got the attacking players there to trouble us, but it's up to their forwards to lay a platform for them and give them a chance.